This is John Checky, co author of Spend Time and Save Money. What on earth does that actually mean? Johnny, I don't care where you're going to college because I'm not paying for it. That was my graduation from high school present for my dad. He'd say, gee, how did that work? 4 short years later, I was a college graduate from Texas Christian University. My wife and I were driving a brand new VW bus. I think our payments were about $53 a month on that. We had put down $1,000 on a $2,500 car. And you could say, T. Wilkers, how could two college students going to an expensive school possibly have done that? Well, from the age of 3, I prepared myself to, one, learn how to play Let's Make a Deal. 2, thoroughly know myself, so know what I wanted to be when I grew up. And 3, learn how to make this much money, spend this much money, save this much money, and do that on a regular basis. Which again is what spend time and save money is all about, even though it's backwards on the page. First thing to do, all kidding aside, is know yourself. What does that mean in everyday language? Now, me, I love to scuba dive. Just this morning, I got a referral over to another scuba diver and a lady who books tours, liveaboards, and things like that. And that sounds very exciting to me. Of course, that won't be until next year when things are a little safer, we hope, and COVID has finished up and more people have gotten either cured, vaccinated, or gone on down the road. So, point number 1 is know yourself. And our first chapter is how to have fun and still have money. And that's hand in hand with knowing yourself. In my case, you can see clearly I have this cute little hat, which keeps my head warm when the air conditioner is too vigorous here in our office on the 15th floor. Why that style hat? Well, I like to drive cars, and cars normally have roofs and doors, and it's hard to get in and out of a car with a big hat on. So we're what we call a sports car hat or an MG hat, and it's great fun to do that. But how do you have fun and still have money? If you know what actually brings you joy, then you can concentrate on having that come to you away. You can see there's a little taekwondo trophy on over my right shoulder, and that was given to me by the YWCA for helping teach kids how to do martial arts. You can see I have an extra computer on the desk as well, stocking up to replace this computer and take this computer home, keep that brand new computer here. So again, knowing that periodically you have to invest in capital. But if you can make this much money, spend this much money, and save this much money, eventually you have more money and you can actually do things, buy things, what have you. How do you do that? Well, let's say you have a job that is you're employed. One of the ways you can have fun and still have money is become familiar with your company benefits. What does that mean? Know what benefits beyond getting paid on a regular basis your company has for you. Some companies have health insurance, but you don't pay the full amount of health insurance. Some have retirement plans to which you can contribute. If you're lucky enough to have a 401k, which was passed back in the early 1980s, as I recall, you can have money deducted out of your paycheck, however often you get paid, a certain percentage of your pay, and have that contributed to some investments for your future. Many companies also match part of that over time as well, which is great fun for you in terms of doing that, meaning it's free money. And it takes a period of time to vest. As my wife would say, what the heck does vest mean? Let's say you're an employee and you've been there long enough to actually participate in the 401k, whatever the plan document has designated as long enough. And you start to contribute. And your employer will say, gee, Willikers, for everyone, we will contribute, match your contribution. Your first 6% will match 3%. Fantastic. So that 3% from my point of view is free money. Now, what prevents you from just taking that money out and going on down the road. Well, normally it takes a period of time to vest. Let's translate that to everyday language. In year one, you have zero vesting in most cases. Commonly, it'll take a few years for you to actually build up vesting. Some have you vest gradually over time. Some have a kind of a cliff vesting where it takes 5 years to vest in the first percentage, and then suddenly you're totally vested. It depends upon what the law is at the time, what the regulations are at the time. Normally, the institution or individual who is the trustee for the plan, go ahead and give you that information along with your human resource person. So if you're lucky enough to have a job and you plan on being there for a while and you make enough money to save some money, which I highly recommend, be a really good idea to spend less money than you make. No kidding. How do you do that? Well, I just told you, if you, all kidding aside, had money deducted from your check on a regular basis, you get used to not having that money to spend. It's that simple. If, however, you say, I am not going to be saving anything until I see how much money I need to spend first, it can be very difficult to ever save anything. So it's of some consequence. One, you'll save some income taxes temporarily, or at least at first. Two, you get some free money in terms of your employer contribution. Let's say you're not lucky enough to work for someone else. You have the freedom of being an independent contractor, meaning that you receive a 1099 rather than a W-2. What do you do then? Well, first of all, I'm going to highly recommend you get with a good certified public accountant. Even though I am technically a certified public accountant, I do not do that kind of work. But I suggest you sit down with someone and really go over the tax consequences of being an independent contractor. I'll give you a couple just to start off with. For one thing, you'll have a different form in your tax or on your tax return. It's called a Schedule C, and in that Schedule C, you list what your 1099 income was, what your expenses associated with that income was, what your net was, and then you'll get to figure, or whoever figures your tax return, or what computer program figures your tax return, the self-employment income tax, meaning you get to pay both halves of Social Security, which turns out to be about 14.5%. So be aware of that. It's not like being an employee where you just have a certain amount of money deducted based on withholding schedules, but you'll have to do your own withholding. Plus, that's the self-employment part. Plus, figure out what your average tax rate is, or your marginal tax rate. Again, consult with your tax advisor on that. But what can you do to spend less money than you make? After all that, folder. If you decide, heck, I'm going to save 10% of what I make no matter what, just get used to saving 10% no matter what, and have that automatically taken out of your checking account and put into some sort of an investment account, whether it's a brokerage account, an IRA account, or a self-employed account. But save money on a regular basis and make it automatic, so that way you'll have money over time. So spend less money than you make is a cardinal underpinning of all financial success from my background. I've talked to lots of smart people who make tons of money. Some of them are absolutely positively broke and miserable, despite being household names, making gazillions of dollars a year, but not accumulating anything. So don't be one of those people. Most people don't get to make millions of dollars a year unless you're providing amazing value. And when you're doing that, it's a great idea to save some of that money, invest some of that money. And we believe firmly, even though we can't write it down, we believe that Jesus saves and the rest of us need to learn to invest. So number one point on how to have fun and still have money is learn to spend less money than you make. It is just that simple. I'll get to chapter 2 next week, and that chapter is entitled How to Legally, Lawfully, and Thoughtfully Minimize Your Income Tax. Have fun, be well. This is John Checky. Looking forward to seeing you sooner and later.